The Justice Department has subpoenaed former FBI Director James Comey. Sources tell CBS News the subpoena is part of the DOJ's probe into Obama-era intelligence officials. Now, last year, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard made a criminal referral to the DOJ. She alleged, without evidence, a, quote, treasonous conspiracy to undermine the 2016 Trump campaign. Let's go live now to CBS News Justice reporter Jake Rosen. Hey, Jake, can you walk us through the details of this investigation?
Yeah, we saw late last year, Mugo, that there were subpoenas sent to people like former intelligence official John Brennan and other top former FBI leaders who were a part of the FBI and intelligence community around the 2015-2016 time when President Trump was running for office the first time. As you know, there were numerous intelligence assessments about President Trump's involvement or Russian involvement in potentially wanting President Trump to win that election. And there has been a number of conspiracy theories, frankly, to put them that way, about how those intelligence communities worked or did not work to move forward and investigate President Trump. We obviously led to part of that first impeachment against him and the criticism that has pretty much been nonstop that President Trump has taken issue with for over 10 years now, that there was some kind of Russian interest in him winning in 2016 and the Russiagate investigation that stemmed from that, that he sees as a weaponization of law enforcement. What we have confirmed in recent days is that former FBI Director James Comey, who is still fighting his separate legal battle against the indictment against him for allegedly lying to Congress, that is still waiting in appeals court. We're all waiting to see what happens with this investigation, which is he's been subpoenaed out of Florida, where there is an investigation that is looking to potentially stitch together everything that has happened in the intelligence community that President Trump has taken issue with. Think about Jack Smith and the indictments against him more recently. Think about John Brennan, Andrew McCabe, and a number of others who have all been subpoenaed in this case. Who specifically the target is, Mugo, is just not clear. However, it is another sign that the main Justice Department here down in D.C. and certain federal prosecutors' offices are working to kind of build the case. However, we just don't know exactly whether this will lead to criminal charges, who specifically the charges would be against, and whether there's any real weight to this investigation outside of showing to these people who had investigated President Trump in their past careers that they should be on the hot seat and look out for some kind of potential legal threat going forward.
Okay. And Jake, we're also following reports of a narco-terrorism investigation by the DOJ involving Colombia. What details do we have about that?
Well, that's right. We know that Colombian President Gustavo Petro's name has come up in investigations stemming from two different investigations out of New York City, one based out of Brooklyn in the Eastern District of New York and one based out of Manhattan in the Southern District of New York. These are investigations that we're being told are not derived from any kind of political basis, but we've seen this happen in places like Venezuela, which led to the capture and now prosecution of Nicolas Maduro, who will be in court next week. We should be reminding our audience that President Trump has also instructed his Justice Department to potentially go after the leadership in Cuba and any potential federal charges they could charge Cuban officials with. As President Trump is dealing with all these crises around the world, his administration and Justice Department have taken on the task of potentially trying to charge and investigate and look into what's been going on in separate countries around the world. Think about Venezuela, Cuba, and now Colombia, and potentially whether there were leadership in these countries working with potential gangs or criminal organizations in these countries to bring drugs into the United States. Certainly, these are very early stages of investigation. We should also add that Petro is not the center of that investigation, but to remind our audience, President Trump's Justice Department is still working towards potentially building these charges out going forward.
All right, we'll see how it all plays out. Jake Rosen, thank you so much.